Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Paul Brown Show. This evening, my guest will be Ms. Robyn Codrington, the Clinical Director of Inner Strength Counseling Service. How you doing, Ms. Codrington?
I'm great, thank you.
Tell us first about yourself.
Well, I'm Robyn Codrington. I am owner, founder, clinical director of Inner Strength Counseling Services. I've been doing it for about 2 years now. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, master's degree in social work from UNC Greensboro and North Carolina A&T State University.
Oh, okay.
And I am a licensed clinical social worker, so I conduct therapy with clients as well as the runnings of the business.
Inner Strength Counseling Service, that's an interesting name. How'd you come about with that name?
It came about from personal experience, my spirituality, and knowing that all answers lie within, all love, joy, peace, and especially strength come from within. And I truly believe that all of the people that we come in contact with have their own answers and strength within them, and sometimes we can help them in their journey to discover that strength.
What separates Inner Strength Counseling Service from some of the other organizations that you have?
One thing we pride ourselves on is that although we're a private practice, we will go out to the home and provide services there if transportation is an issue.
Okay.
We will go out to different locations such as Boys and Girls Club, school settings, homeless shelters, you name the location and we will come to you and bring our services to you.
Why did you come up with that concept of going to the individuals? It's pretty interesting.
It is. It's a new day and age in the mental health field, and a lot of times, I mean, you hear across the news the economy.
Correct.
And so when you are working with people who are going through serious situations and need some assistance, sometimes providing those services in the comfort of their home, in an environment that they feel comfortable in, is more conducive to the therapeutic process. Also, you know, transportation can be an issue, and so therapists who sit behind their desk and
Correct.
wait for them to come sometimes will be sitting there waiting a long time.
Okay.
And that increases, from a business perspective, it increases no-shows and cancellations versus if I come to you, you don't have to do anything but just be home.
That's true. What population do you normally serve?
The youngest age would be 4, because I do have a therapist, Carolyn Boyd, who works with young children and does play therapy.
Oh, okay.
And so we can work with the young ones all the way up to whatever age. If you're ready to work on yourself, we're ready to help you.
You said play therapy. What does that consist of? I mean, that sounds interesting.
It's fun for the child, and it's work for the clinician.
Oh, okay.
A lot of times, children don't have the same communication skills that adults do.
Okay.
If you were my client, you can come in and very easily tell me that you're feeling sad or whatever the case may be. Children don't necessarily have those skills, but how they communicate still goes through with the way they play. So sometimes a child may be going through something, and the way they play with dolls is indicative of that situation that they're going through.
Okay, I'm not sure whether you mentioned it as far as why did you decide to get in that type of area?
Oh man, the ongoing joke in mental health is to be in mental health you have to be crazy yourself or come from a crazy family or something like that. I definitely have had my share of rough experiences throughout childhood and even early adulthood, and I just always found myself interested in psychology. Why do we do the things that we do? And if the things that we do are not helpful to us, how can we change it? And as I dug deep, I found my interest in it increasing. And so, you know, a long time ago I thought I was going to be a clinical psychologist and, you know, all this good stuff, but I ended up going the social work route because it spoke more closely to my heart. Although I'm very interested in the psychology behind our behavior, I also just want to help people, and I think that you can help people in very practical ways, linking them to services in the community and activities like that. So that's kind of how I fell into it.
Okay, one of the theories I think you deal with is cognitive behavior. Explain to the audience what that entails and how would that relate to them.
Cognitive behavioral theory is an approach that a clinician would use in a therapy session. The basic breakdown of it is your thoughts lead to how you feel, and how you feel leads to how you behave. So if you're feeling down and out, you're probably gonna, or excuse me, if you're having thoughts of, life sucks, or, those kind of negative thoughts, or negative thoughts about yourself, about the world that we live in, you're going to find yourself feeling depressed, feeling down and out. And when you feel down and out, how do you behave? You're sluggish, or your energy level is low. You don't have the motivation to get up and do the things that you need to do. And it can get to a serious point to where you find yourself with a diagnosis of depression.
Okay. So how would y'all handle a situation like that within someone?
Well, first we would assess the client that we're working with and help them to really dig deep and discover their underlying belief system. Okay. Is your underlying belief system that no matter how hard you work, how hard you try, you're never going to get ahead? If that's your underlying belief system, then that's going to lead you to not really feel very motivated to do much of anything.
Correct.
And so if we can get to those underlying belief systems, those thoughts that you have around any given situation that you find yourself in, and change the thought to something more positive, something more beneficial to you, your feelings are going to change and your behavior will then change. It's not an overnight process by any means, and it does take some work on the client's part to really dig deep, and sometimes that can bring about even more issues. It's like opening up Pandora's box. Okay. That's why we're there, to offer them a safe environment in which to do that and really look at themselves and evaluate where they want to go in comparison to where they are and help them reach that distance.
Okay, opening up Pandora's box. How important is confidentiality within your service?
Absolutely, it is of the most importance. And to go back and readdress the question you asked about what sets inner strength aside,
correct,
I take extreme pride in protecting my clients. I always tell my clients, if I see you in Walmart, Charlotte's a small town.
Correct.
If I see you in Walmart, I'm not going to speak to you. And that's not me being rude, that's me honoring your confidentiality. Because if you're with somebody and I'm with somebody and, oh, how do you know them? If I tell my friend, oh, I can't tell you, they know I'm a therapist. Okay. So they're going to pretty much figure it out. But if they choose to speak to me, of course I'll speak to them. But I definitely honor that confidentiality. If I have to share information with anybody, I have a signed consent form allowing me to share that information. And even that information that I do share will be limited.
Okay, what's your goal-seeking treatment at your facility?
That's going to be individual to each person. What we try to do is establish what the client would like to achieve personally. And it's really, they're the boss. Okay. They tell us what they want, and we help to lead them in that direction. If for some reason, what they want may not be as suitable for them as another goal, then we might explain that to them and maybe come up with goals that are more conducive to where they would like to be. But, if a person is depressed, their first goal would be to reduce those symptoms. Oh. And that could be as simple as talking to a doctor about some medication that would help lift their mood while they work on themselves with us. In addition, they may decide, okay, I'm going to be more active. Let me pull myself up out of my bed. Let me get out here in the community and do some things. And sometimes just activity in and of itself helps lift your mood.
Okay, I know. How important is it to building that individual's self-esteem? Because I know it has to be, in certain cases, just like you said, dealing with depression, it has to be kind of low. How do you learn on building it up?
Well, it definitely goes back to those thoughts that we have about ourselves. I call it a locus of control. If you have a strong internal locus of control, that means that you really believe that your experiences are under your control. If you have a higher external locus of control, that's kind of a thought process where everything's up to luck. You know, let me carry my rabbit's foot with me and, you know, we'll see what happens, versus making a choice, this is what's going to happen and this is what I'm going to do to make it happen.
Okay, I know in today's society we deal with things like substance abuse, domestic violence, and a lot of these issues. I know most of your clients deal with these. How do you handle that with them?
Well, we have thankfully, Danielle Sample-Raggins, who is a licensed substance abuse counselor on staff. Okay. She's also a certified parent educator. So depending on the client's need, I will assign them to a particular clinician who specializes in what their areas are. When a person is, which actually it kind of goes hand in hand. A lot of people, instead of going to the doctor for maybe an antidepressant, will self-medicate through alcohol or drugs. And you really have to kind of get that worked out first. Okay. And then we can really start to dig. There's the old way of thinking was that you have to deal with the substance abuse first before you can work on the mental health. But now it's coming out into the literature that you really need to work on those things simultaneously.
How about the issue of like domestic violence and stuff like? I mean, there's just so many different areas that we deal with in society.
Yes, domestic violence is an unfortunate thing that happens more than we tend to be aware of. A lot of times in the news we hear the sensational stories, but domestic violence, people think of those Lifetime movies, you know, and they think that it has to include hitting. But it's important to know that domestic violence takes place on a multitude of levels: isolation, intimidation, financial control. So, you know, it doesn't have to be a person hitting you. And what I have worked to try to bring about awareness to is that we see teen dating violence more often now as well. So it's not just the married couple, it's not just heterosexual couples, it's same-sex couples, and it's our teenagers who are at high school and they're being intimidated by their boyfriend or their girlfriend or whatever the case may be.
But why in a lot of cases do we find them returning back to those type of relationships?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a question. That's $1 million question.
It is $1 million question, and I worked for DSS for 4 years right out of grad school, and we had a state-mandated training to go through for domestic violence, and they told us in our training, you know, statistically, a person will return back to their spouse 7 times before they actually leave for the final time. There's many reasons. There's fear. There's maybe the person is threatening them. If you leave me, I'll kill you or your family. A lot of times women have children and are financially dependent on their spouse. Some people have never been on their own. There's no golden answer to the why question, but professionals who work with that population have to be very aware of this going back to